Cassette and vinyl community, what's going on? It's LJ, and I'm here as promised with an artist collection for my next cassette community video. I'm going to use a little bit of vinyls to support this video as well, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. Before I even get started, I want to take a minute to do something I usually do at the end of every video, and start a video by thanking all the new recent subscribers to my channel. I really do appreciate it. Every subscription means a lot to me. It's just great to know that people are into what I'm saying and what I'm showing. It also means that there's been a good deal more of great comment and feedback and discussion about albums and formats and equipment like cassette decks and so forth. It's just been awesome. So a huge thank you to everybody. Keep them coming, and I'll do my best to keep up with all the comments. Much appreciated, guys. Anyways, so off we go. A request via PM to show my Queensryche collection. So we'll focus primarily on cassettes, and again, we'll show a few albums as well. First is the Queensryche EP. This has been released a couple of different times. This is a 4-song EP. One of the neat things about it on cassette is it's just the same 4 songs on both sides. They didn't do 2 on one side, 2 on another. This was released in 1982 by the band themselves, and as legend has it, Queensryche formed, of course, in Washington, outside of Seattle, and without a vocalist, and known as The Mob was the name of the band. And they recruited a singer by the name of Jeff Tate, who was with a band called Myth, but was not interested in doing heavy metal. So he did partner up with The Mob, help them release or record their initial demo tape, which is this. And based on the positive reviews from, I think, Kerrang! Magazine and just the public at large, concert-going public, they signed with EMI. Jeff Tate became a formal member of the band, and here is the 4-song Queensryche EP. Here it is on vinyl. This has since been reissued as well. It includes an additional track from the Rage for Order sessions called The Prophecy, I believe. So, vinyl, cassette, Queensryche's first album, or EP. Now, Queensryche moved on from there, and that is definitely very Dungeons & Dragons heavy metal. Just good stuff, but campy by today's standards. Still a great album. Their first full-length release is The Warning. Here's The Warning, and Queensryche is now fully on board with EMI at this point as a record label. Jeff Tate is a full-blown member of the band, and Queensryche's The Warning, and EMI has some pretty cool cassette designs. The Warning is a fantastic album. Again, very steeped in Dungeons & Dragons type metal of the time, but still fantastic. Queensryche was still at this point, in my opinion, far from being a progressive or thinking man's band. Here's The Warning on vinyl, and you get a good idea of the band at this point. And Queensryche is a band that's done really good at sticking together. I know they've since disbanded and changed a bit, but Queensryche held in there for about 15 years before any lineup changes, which is pretty damn amazing for a band, especially a metal band. Third, here's what you hear in the background. This is their third album, second full-length album, 1986's Rage for Order. Can you tell Queensryche is one of my favorites? Rage for Order is a fantastic album. Walk in the Shadows is what just played. Rage for Order is a little distinct in that it was released a number of different times with different covers. For example, here's the cassette. You can see we have white lettering on a black circle. Very easy to read. That tells me this is a later pressing of Rage for Order. Here's an original CD pressing from EMI, and you can see the gold letters in the black border. And again, that's what we're listening to right now. It gets cooler. The very same, here's Rage for Order on vinyl. Here's a later pressing, and you can tell that because of the black circle with gold letters. Matches the CD. Doesn't match the cassette, but same idea. Very easy to read. So there's a later pressing of Rage for Order. Here is one of the very first pressings of Rage for Order. And you can tell this by the blue interior of the circle with the gold lettering. Deemed too difficult to read by EMI. It was reissued. See how we can do this with different lettering. Everything else, absolutely identical. But just a neat rarity to have, and one, if you come across it to pick up, that would be one of the very first pressings of Rage for Order. As far as I know, only a few thousand made it out that way. Queensryche's first magnum opus, in many people's opinion, here's Operation Mindcrime in its white cassette case, which was very different for the time, and definitely was, you could kind of, I don't want to say it got a lot of attention, but you could pick it up from a distance. Oh, that's Mindcrime. You know, a lot like iPods with the telltale white headphones. Everybody knew you had an iPod. Now nobody gives a shit, but this was kind of the same way. So here's Operation Mindcrime. Operation Mindcrime, of course, the big concept album of the time about a guy disillusioned with society, so he joins a revolutionary mob to assassinate political figures and so on and so forth. I never really dug into the story. I'm not much of a concept album kind of guy, but it's just an album full of great music. Great music. And of course, Operation Live Crime and the full concert being performed in its entirety has just added to the band's legend, and it's very cool. And of course, the partner piece here is Operation Mindcrime on vinyl. Definitely an amazing album. Alright, that brings us up to their watershed album by far. This is Empire. This was an album that came out in, 1990, so 9th grade, my freshman year of high school. Empire was unavoidable. Silent Lucidity took some time to grow on me, and rightfully so, because it was your girlfriend's song. But songs like Della Brown, Another Rainy Night Without You, Jet City Woman, an absolutely amazing, stellar, stunning album, front to back. I own this in every format. One of my all-time favorites. And here it is. This was just a gift for my birthday this year. This is the Friday Music reissue of Empire on vinyl. 180 gram heavyweight vinyl, an absolutely beautiful set that sounds absolutely brilliant. Don't hesitate for a second to pick it up if you see it. It's already out of print and starting to become very, very difficult to find. One of my definite most treasured heavy metal pieces is Empire. The band sounds absolutely brilliant. They're at their total peak. We're going to carry on from here with Cassette because they get very difficult and very expensive on vinyl after this. So swinging back to the Cassette community, here's the follow-up. This was 4 years, 1994. It's a huge break. After Empire, they released Promised Land. Promised Land, not at all a bad album, different than Empire, but bear in mind, grunge had exploded in the 4 years that followed this, and a lot of heavy metal kings of the day bit the dust in that time. Especially those that formed in the same area that grunge exploded. So again, you gotta remember Queensryche is a Seattle-based band, much like Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And I believe it was Promised Land. It wasn't Promised Land, it was the next cassette. There's an interesting story on it. But this has I Am I, and it's Damaged and Bridge. All fantastic songs, a great album, don't miss it. The last time I saw that on vinyl, it went for a couple $100. No way. Here in the Now Frontier followed in 1996, so just a couple years between them. And the interesting story about Promised Land, Here in the Now Frontier, is that it was recorded not only in Seattle, but in Pearl Jam guitarist Stone Gossard's house. So not only had Pearl Jam extended or kind of passed the baton, or did Queensryche pass the baton? It's hard to say, but you have to admit that it's a bit odd that the previous reigning kings of heavy metal from that area, and that put that area on the map, would now be recording in the house of a band whose own new genre had essentially put a bullet through heavy metal. Just an interesting story, one I guess I found is difficult to word, but you get what I mean. Here in the Now Frontier is not a bad album. It's definitely not fantastic, and it would be after this that Chris DeGarmo, the guitarist responsible for Queensryche's sound, has a tone all his own. Gone. And next is Q2K. This is the last Queensryche I have on cassette. The rest I have on CD. Q2K, can you guess? It's Queensryche's 2000 effort, issued in 1999. bit interesting. Q2K has guitarist, I believe his name is Kelly Gray. I'm not going to bother trying to find his name in here, but I believe it's Kelly Gray. And Kelly Gray, while not only replacing Chris DeGarmo, actually came from the same band Jeff Tate came from back in 1982 when they recorded the EP, Myth. So Chris and Kelly, Jeff and Kelly, longtime friends, and Kelly now on board with Queensryche for Q2K. A much better album in my opinion than Here in the Now Frontier. Not bad, not Empire, not Operation Mindcrime. But as far as Queensryche goes, it's a damn good album. They carry on after that on CD, and maybe we can make that another video, but the request was for Queensryche Cassette. I already cheated by throwing a few albums in there, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll talk to you guys soon.